So obviously, you have a passion for leadership, and you've
Oh
done it for
man,
so many years, and
yes.
based upon that, people have a very strong love for Rob Daniels. Who
Matter
were
of fact, one of my sister, she's a manager at her job, and she got me as her as her mentor.
there you go.
Giving her pointers, on leadership and things like that. Matter of fact, I think sometime this probably April May, she gonna have me scheduled to come down and speak, have a leadership forum on
There you go.
leaders. So I told her I'd be willing to do that.
I love it. I love it.
Yes.
Your sister's a smart woman. I don't blame her, man. I don't blame her. No, but that's good. So generally, the way that
Mhm.
we do it throughout our careers, we find these dynamic leaders and we take bits and pieces from them, and we
Right.
take that and we tie it to our own personality and core beliefs and upbringing, and poof, we have our version of leadership. So
Mhm.
what did that look like for you? Like, who were some of the dynamic leaders in your life that you kind of took some things from?
Right. Well, let me start off with the basic foundation of my Rob Daniel leadership, and that is my Christian background,
Yeah,
the way I was raised. That sets that's the foundation right there.
yeah,
Yes, I've had leaders to inspire me. Those my mentors, but first, my foundation, like I said, I'm talking about Rob Daniel now. I'm not no one else.
that's right.
It's my Christian background, because uh, because everything, if your audience are Christians, they read the Bible, is that it teaches you about life.
Yeah,
It talks about servanthood, treating people the way you want to be treated, being honest, integrity, the fruits of the spirit. So that's my basic foundation right there.
yeah,
It's the way I was raised. Treat people the way you want to be treated.
yeah,
Like my grandma used to say. So let's go Army now. So like I said, I spent most of my life in the Army. Okay, so I've had some leaders like Command Sergeant Major Patrick Brooks, Lieutenant General Morrison. Great, awesome leaders. General Mitch Kilgo, another great Army leader. So those the personnel that I look back and watched how they led an organization, how they inspired people.
yeah, yeah,
Which has inspired me
yeah,
to reach higher and great limits within the Army.
yeah.
So my once again, it's just my foundation. Seriously, is my Christian background that laid that foundation. Because without a foundation, when the wind blow,
Absolutely.
hey, you're gonna move, you're gonna fall.
Yeah.
But with that strong foundation, no matter what you go through in life, personally,
Yeah.
as a leader, for me, is my Christian background.
Yeah.
Then everything else falls. I hope that answers yours.
No, yeah, it absolutely does. And like you, mine's pretty much the same thing. I had that. My mother was that one. She was making me read and make me study. And I'll be honest with you, when I was a young boy, I used to get mad. I used to get mad. Read the 10 Commandments. You know what I'm saying? And I did. And I so appreciate the fact that she did that. Because what I found, it was a certain point in my military career to where it clicked.
Right.
And I went back to the basics. I went
Right, back to the
and I
basics.
found myself sitting. I think I was either a young buck sergeant or a young staff sergeant. I mean, I'm sitting at home and I got this Bible open and this Bible open, and I'm comparing notes. I'm looking at different translations to get a better understanding.
Right.
And what I found is that through that understanding, I started developing better character. And then for me, and I appreciate you naming those dynamic leaders' name. For me, it was some people that was very influential in my career. Retired Command Sergeant Major Edgar Fuentes, retired Sergeant First Class Tony Majors, who is Bishop Tony Majors now. I think he's in Fort Riley area. Just awesome individuals. And then some more people that, if I'm just completely honest, it's too many for me to name, but some more people that just continue to instill in me and pour in me and develop. And what I would tell you is that, whatever leader that turned me into, I greatly appreciate that.
Right, right,
And just seeing, emails and messages that I get from
right.
former soldiers and former
Mm,
friends, and being
yeah.
reached out to an old friend of mine that I hadn't
Hmm.
talked to in years,
Yeah,
and asking me
exactly.
to, yeah. So it's just
Mhm.
stuff like that. And we
Exactly.
greatly appreciate that because it's very humbling.
It is. It
And I
is.
have to keep going back there because I don't say, oh, well, I did this and I did that. No, 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 no.
Mm-mm.
By a collective amount of intelligences and collective amount of experiences, and things of that nature, and obviously with the great assistance of the Holy Spirit, that actually allowed
Right.
me to be in a position to help someone else, and that's just
Right.
really how I see it.
Also, I like to say, right, the greatest, the man in the Bible. If you want to know about leadership, read the life of Jesus. Read the life of Jesus, and he teaches you all about what a leader is supposed to. He was humble.
Yeah,
Uh, he was direct,
yeah,
but did it in a loving manner.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, so that's what I was say about that.
Yeah,
So
so
yeah.
we done talked about this word several times now. We didn't talk about humility several times.
Right.
What
Yes.
what was what was the most humbling experience in the workplace that you can recall?
I would say um, probably when you know when you have a soldier, even a family member,
Hmm.
say, "I appreciate what you've done for me throughout my career."
Yeah,
They made it at that level.
yeah,
They said, "Just thank you."
yeah, yeah,
That's humbling to me.
absolutely.
That spouse come to you and say, "Thank you for taking care of my husband."
Hmm.
You know, um, leading soldiers in combat. That's a humbling experience.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
It's humbling. So I'm thankful, for that.
Yeah,
But also, I want to say this. You can be the greatest, you can be the most awesome leader in an organization,
yeah,
but you have to have that support.
absolutely.
So I give honor to my spouse
Yeah,
for supporting me throughout my army career.
yeah,
Because honestly, without her, I don't know where I would be. I mean, she stood right by my side through thick and thin,
yeah, yeah,
raising our kids. So I really give honor to her for what she has done, you know, to help me be elevated and be the man I am today.
and don't forget putting up with you too. We ain't gonna leave
Exactly.
that. We
Exactly.
ain't gonna leave that off.
Exactly. Right.
Because a lot of times I say that jokingly, but I'm actually serious, and I don't know
Yeah.
your spouse, and you guys, I'm sure you have a fantastic relationship, and I hope, trust me, I know some other people, they just don't recognize their spouse like that. So again, thank you for doing it. But you also have to realize that when we come home from work, sometime we're not the most pleasant people to be around.
We don't want to talk.
Yeah,
We just want to go to the bedroom, sit there, recline, but they want to talk. But we have to do it. So, baby, can you give me at least 30 minutes?
yeah,
You know.
yeah, yeah,
And I thank God for my wife understanding that I
yeah,
need to wind down.
yeah. Yeah, man. Blessings to her. Blessings to her.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
yes.
No, this is good. I know. So for me, I would say, and you're right. When someone comes to you and give you those type of comments, it is very humbling. It makes
Right.
you
Yes.
kind of take a step. It's almost like an out of body experience. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? It's like it's
Yes.
just amazing.
Yeah.
I was in it's a couple of them for me. We were getting ready to deploy with 30 CR. Well, let's talk about the one afterwards. When we came back, I lost a soldier. I
Oh
lost
yeah.
a soldier. Um, you know,
Yeah.
when we was deployed, and the family wanted to have a get together, dinner, if you will, and I really did not want to go. I was there for 2 months. I did not want to go. Um, and so eventually I decided I was late. Um, and when I showed up, it was at Cheddar's. And when I showed up, it was I was it was a very interesting response because everybody in the place started clapping. And so the family was standing right there. The father and the mother, his father and his mother was standing. His father and his mother and his wife were standing right there. And so his father, which is the story I didn't want to tell you at first, his father grabbed me and shook my hand and hugged me and said, "My son wanted to be just like you." And man, it took everything in me not to shed a tear.
Wow.
Because I
That's
was still
powerful.
mourning the loss of this young man.
Right. That's
And I
powerful.
mourned his loss for years. But just to hear that come from his dad, that just kind of touched me.
Right.
But then there was another situation to where a soldier was a chapter case and they made a bad decision. It's one of those, no tolerance things. But we were getting ready to go to OIF 1. And so our commander at that particular point in time had the power to rescind his chapter. And so the commander asked him, what did he want to do? And so me and the platoon sergeant, we're standing in the back. I was a young staff sergeant back then. We're standing in the back and the soldier standing in front of the commander's desk. And the soldier stopped and he turned around and looked and he said, "I want to go where he goes."
Wow.
And I was like, and so again, another one of those moments. You probably thinking like, man, you was a big old crybaby when you was in the army. But man,
it's humbling, man. It's a humbling experience. I'll tell you
is.
another humbling experience, right? Me and the commander, I thought he was a big old crybaby. But anyway, we our gay CSM, we traveled a lot, see family, had dinner, right?
Yeah.
So one of the soldiers, NCOs, was leaving. So like always, not only that we want to, honor and thank the soldier for his service, but also we want to thank the spouse for
Absolutely
their service too.
Yeah.
So we saw a poem. I forget the name of the poem, but it's about pretty much the gist of the poem is how a spouse supports his wife.
Yeah.
Beautiful poem. And so I gave it to my boss to read, to present. And as he was reading, man, that joker started choking up. He started crying. Then, that's my battle buddy. So he handed it to me. I started reading it. And I was reading it. As I was reading it, I was thinking about my wife, how she supported me during my deployment. Man, I started crying. We both started crying, man. But these soldiers, the civilians of that organization, they saw how genuine we were.
Right.
They know we won't put. They know that was real. That was real.
Yeah, absolutely.
That brought back memory. So that definitely was another humbling experience.
No, that's awesome, man. And so again, we're talking, leadership in the workplace. People need to understand that you're human.
Right.
That is a real thing. Humanity is a real thing. So we can't forget about that.